Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Myriam Moufhlih and I'll be your host for this conversation. I'm a curator, film programmer and writer born in Casablanca, Morocco and based in Glasgow, UK. Africa in Motion is an annual film festival taking place in Scotland consisting of film screenings and complementary events. Now in its 16th year, AIM has established itself as a major annual event within the Scottish cultural calendar, whilst also maintaining an international profile as one of the leading African film platforms. We're really pleased to be screening the film Before the Dying of the Light, a tapestry of photos, music and footage depicting the vibrant visual art scene in 1970s Morocco. I'm delighted to welcome our guest, Ali Essafi, the director of the film. Ali was born in Morocco. After training as a psychologist, he began working in the visual arts and directing documentaries. His work as a director include Général Nous Voilà, The Silence of the Root Fields, Ouarzazate Movie, and Shikat's Blues, which have won praise and awards in the international circuit. In 2003, he was appointed the artistic director of Morocco's Société Nationale de Radiodiffusion et Télévision. His research into North African film archives has inspired publications, films, and installations, including Wanted, commissioned by the Sharjah Biennial in 2011, and Halakat Nord Afrikaan, a selection of the Dakar Biennial in 2014. His latest film, Crossing the Seventh Gate, had its premiere at the Forum section of the Berlin International Film Festival. So thanks for joining us today, Ali. My first question is, in your practice, what are some of the findings that have surprised you, and did these films speak to that?
Well, I'm going to first of all to thanks the Africa in Motion to invite me. I'm really glad and honored to show this film, which actually I want to show everywhere in Africa first, for African people, for different reasons. Maybe we will talk about. Now, well, if I understand right the question, I as I said in the presentation of the film, in Morocco, we have too much difficulties to have access to the archives, and we don't have this intergenerational accumulation of art and culture. So each generation is cut from what happened before. So when I started to make films, I discovered that I don't know. I know a lot about the history of cinema and of art in the world, but I don't know a little bit. I don't know a really interesting thing about the history of cinema and art in my country. So I started to make this research when I was actually already 45 years old, and I spent too much time trying to have access to those archives. It took me a lot of time, more than 10 years, just to finish this film I'm presenting now. And I actually didn't finish I didn't have access to all the materials we have in Morocco. This practice, of archives came from works I discovered from the pioneers, Moroccan pioneers, filmmakers, I ignored completely, like most of Moroccan people. And I discovered that some of these pioneers made start to search for a new identity, an authentic identity rooted in our cultural background, and unfortunately, the work they started crashed, and we didn't have the transmission of those works. And so I discovered one of them from Ahmed Bouanani, called Memory 14, which is a great modern artwork, between a lot of things, between poetry and visual art, cinema, and thanks to this work, and to a great program happened at the MoMA, called experimental Arabic film. I discovered two other works from North Africa, which are similar, which are trying to find the way how to manage to talk story with the archives, when those archives are a propaganda and are made by the regime in that time. So I learned a lot from those works, which actually I have the honor to present at Africa in Motion, if you remember, Myriam, 3 or 4 years ago. And I'm publishing right now with the Sharjah Art Foundation this research, which was installation that I made for Dakar Art Biennale in 2014. So I'm trying to reconnect with those pioneers practices, and to experiment them, and I want to share them with the people from all the ex-colonized countries, which don't have access to the archives also, and I want to share it with filmmakers from those countries, which came from the oral tradition, because those works which inspired me are a mixture of traditional culture background and cinema. So it's an experimentation. I think a lot of people, filmmakers, maybe could be inspired by this option, and maybe to try to make some.
Yeah, I mean, you've spoken kind of briefly, you touched upon how difficult it was to access all this archival footage, but there's so much of it in the film. It is so rich with footage and with photos and with music. And I wondered how you went about kind of gathering that and collating that and putting it together, because it's such a mammoth task.
Yeah, this is why I said it took me more than 10 years to just to have access to a part of those archives. But believe me, that when I present the project to my monteurs, to my editor, Sharik, and the co-producer in France, they were like very suspicious, because it was like nothing. It was like a skeleton. How do you say skeleton? I mean, the
skeleton.
The skeleton.
Yeah.
Thank you, Yvonne. Yeah, it was a skeleton of nothing, pieces of fragments with in bad quality, but in that time I knew really well what I have seen, and what I have found, and that finally I will I have I must have access to the good quality of those works. And well, so it was really, and when we wanted to end the film, we didn't have I mean we didn't have too much. We finished, it was too difficult to finish, to end the film, because we didn't have nothing to add more than what I have found. So for me, maybe for people it's a lot, but for me it's still well. I'm sure maybe we can do better if we have access to much archives, actually.
And I guess my next question is, like, this film is a portrait of a very specific time in Morocco and of kind of the art scene, quite a kind of difficult time in Morocco too. And I was wondering if you could talk about what drew you to this like period of history.
Well, I'm going to start with the end, because this 70s in Morocco, it's my all my life. It's linked with I mean, all the troubles that come to my life and through my family. Start with this story, because I was the younger brother to one who lived in that time the same story, which I say in the film, the story of this young leftist students. It's the story of my brother, and even the story of his family, how he brought the troubles to his family. It's also the same story. So my life broke out when my elder brother have been caught and disappeared, and in the same times my father was a policeman, which was like inhabitual collapse, between two worlds, and for my brother also it was too much troubles because of what happened to my brother. Well, so it's I open my life in the world in this, with these troubles, and also with these artworks. I mean, music, theater, and even if I was growing up in middle of nowhere, in a small city, with nothing, with no library or theaters or museum or nothing. But even I mean, all the music track in the film, for example, is the world of my how do you say, teenager life, mon adolescence, c'est ça?
Yeah.
So it's my story. It's how this is the first reason, but there is a second reason, which is maybe too much, maybe important than the first one. That what I analyzed with the time about what happened in Morocco and in Africa after in the post-colonial era. That 60s and 70s were the gold age for those ex-colonial countries after what collapsed in in the beginning of the 80s because of the mondialization of the finance and economy, and when the FMI, how do you say FMI, Yvon? Fonds Monétaire International.
International, the International Monetary Fund. IMF, International Monetary Fund.
Yeah, when they start, imposed economical program to the states in Africa, and everything collapsed. So this period of the 70s in every country in Africa, we need to make this work to save this memory, because it's the most important era of what happened in art and cinema in the post-colonial era. So and we need to really to save it, and to give access of it to the next generations, because if not, every generation who start like with no roots, and they as I was in the past, we stay on the circle, and we couldn't. What gives me those works, I discovered really amazing works, even in West Africa and East Africa, from the pioneers. That gives me a lot of energy and freedom to go forward with no complex, and we really need this feeling, it gives us as African artists, post-colonial artists, a lot of good vibes, to go forward,
Yeah, and I guess like for me as well, I can just notice that there were so many, of these like Moroccan cultural icons who appear in the film. There's like Nasser Riwan, and there's like Mohamed Malehi, and these kind of people who are having a bit of like a resurgence of interest in their work. I know Mohamed Malehi, there was like a lot of shows of his paintings quite recently in the last few years. There's definitely been a resurgence of interest in his work. And I was also thinking about Mostafa Derkaoui, and about Some Meaningless Events, which features in your film. And I was wondering if you could talk about your relationship to that film and your relationship to Mostafa Derkaoui and his work.
Well, I'm actually, this film is the masterpiece of, this is what really gave me the confidence that I can make this experimental work, because in 2011 I had been commissioned by Sharjah Art Biennale to present a short film, like 10 minutes, and I said, well, it was in that time, it was before the Arabic Spring and etc., and all the world in Africa and the Arabic world was like sleeping deeply, and I said I have to je dois arracher, comme on dit arracher, I have to bring, and to bring back this energy of the 70s, and I started to make this experimentation to make like 10 minutes film, but it was so exciting, and I was searching in the same time for archives, and by chance I met a very important man who is how do you say, collectionneur, collectioner, and he's passionate by cinema, and he have the most important cinematheque actually in Morocco for me, because this guy was the one who saved the VHS copy, the only one which remained from this Derkaoui's film. Because he was part of this adventure. Also, he's actually even acting in this film. He's not. He's like fonctionnaire. He's working. He was working with the state. Nothing to do with cinema, but he's passionate by cinema. And when I saw this VHS, even with the bad quality, I was really astonished, because it was the first time from that era where we can saw a camera in the street talking with people with freestyle from that time, which I knew from other countries, other films, but because it's Morocco and it's my place, so it was wow. And I said this. They caught the atmosphere of what happened in Casablanca downtown, in the bar club in around the port, which was really another time, and I decided finally to make this archives film for Sharjah Art Biennale, and I used fragments from this VHS copy, which was the beginning of the interest in finding out the copy of this film. It's thanks to this short film I made for Sharjah called Wanted. It caught the interest of some other friends, searchers, which follow looking at for the film, and they one of them, a friend, Léa Morin, who was working at the Cinémathèque de Tanger when I showed my film there, and I talk about Derkaoui's film. And then even when I showed it at the MoMA in 2011, the responsible of cinema at the MoMA was really interested and asked me to help to find the copy of this film. And we was starting this research, but unfortunately she died suddenly. She got a cancer and she died in few months. And well, but Léa Morin then followed this, looking out for the film, and she helped to find it to find it in Spain. And then when it was have been found in Spain, the Cinematheque of Barcelona, which is the institution who have kept the copy, they made a new copy and they digitized the film. And so I when I was making my this film, my actual film, which is actually the long version of this short Wanted, which I made for Sharjah Art Biennale, and I find the right copy with the nice quality, and I knew the film very well, so I built my film into this film actually. I don't know if I answered to all your question, Myriam.
No, yeah, that definitely answers it. Yeah, I guess a question that I'm interested in asking you also is like how I think it's very difficult to make films, and like what advice would you give to young filmmakers who are trying to make films, like especially when it comes to those things of like resources and like financing, but also like access to archives and things like that. But so there's that side of things, but there's also like the political situation in the places that people are living and working. So yeah, what advice would you give to young filmmakers who want to make this kind of radical work?
Well, I'm sure everyone can find his own way. There's no experience, similar experiences from one to another. But what I try to do every time since I start, like 25 years later, I make borders between what I have to do to make money to live, because I need to live, but the real stories I want to share and I want to work on, the stories which I came from my life, from my emotions, from my story, linked with my story. I take the time to make them in other ways, and I am convinced that I am not going to win money to live with this film. So just make borders between, we can do a lot of things, to even films, for I make, how do you say, the film de commande?
How can I put it?
Sorry?
I'm thinking, well, how, depending on the context, what I could say to that. But like,
the film under command, of institutions, for example. Unfortunately, I don't have too much, offers to do. But if I find someone to do, I can make it, and for me, it's not my cinema. It's not. I'm working like how do you say, handmade, an artisan.
A craftsman.
Craftsman, he can do basic things for people, and work on a masterpiece sometimes, in this way.
Yeah, I guess the depending on the context, I get it now. Ali is like the difference between, from time to time receiving on-demand, film productions, and then as seeing himself as a craftsman, from time to time, responding to institutional demands as a filmmaker, and within the parallel time, producing works that are long-term works that could lead to sort of masterpieces.
That's it. And if I may aid something, for young filmmakers, that there is a new way to make an original story, even in fiction, or both in fiction or documentary, or even in animation. To try to find the stories close to us, close to our self-story, environment, cultural background, and a lot of times they are most interesting story to say than to try to imitate a kind of storytelling. And this is what is important, is to find a new way to tell the story. The stories, we know them from the Greeks, and even more older, but the way to find the way to to tell the stories. This is the battle of every day, from when I start to now, every day.
And I guess I want to ask now, like, what are you working on now? What have you been working on? What's coming up?
Well, I actually I'm not working on any film project. I'm just trying to finish writing all the I discovered in those 10 years research. I want to this research is like living with ghosts, every time, and I want to finish with the ghosts of those 60s and 70s, and I want to finish to write those research. Some of them will be published sooner, and to finish with and actually I'm really thinking about not fantastic story, and something more, rooted in my culture, but not in the documentary way. I'm thinking more in those works I found liberated me, really. So I will find something.
Well, I'm looking forward to reading the research when it is finally published. Do you have any final thoughts or comments
about
as we close the conversation? Is there anything else you want to say
about our conversation? I didn't get it.
About your conversation, about the work, about showing the work at Africa in Motion.
Wow, I already told to Tana, out of record, that I'm really, as I said in the beginning, I really want to share those works about archives with African people, and I'm really excited when I feel that I'm part of Africa, when some African festival show my works, which is not habitual, actually, because I'm not in in Africa. A lot of festivals are state festivals, so they because I'm not, I haven't in the good list in the state institutions. So my film are not invited, too much in Africa or in African festival. Actually, I go most in African festival outside Africa than inside Africa, and I'm happy also because I am struggling, and Yvon is aware about a research I start and I publish, and he helped in this publication. I'm talking about the Africans, and I'm making a research about the presence of Black people in Morocco, and it's because I discovered that I was astonished, to to discover that most of people, even in intellectual, in North Africa, when they talk about sub-Saharan or Black people, they say the Africans, and I discovered also that in sub-Saharan countries, they don't consider that, as an African, as Africans also, and this way of this point of view comes from the colonial period, and it was only 1 century. And in only 1 century, they succeed to change, natural exchange between North and Sub-Saharan Africa, which happened from the beginning of the life. So I'm struggling to every time, to make this to against those this point of view, and so when I have some of my works in the African event, I try to to push this point, because I'm so happy to be part of any African event in art or cinema.
Well, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with me, and thank you, Yvonne, for your
Pleasure.
translation assistance.